Welcome, everyone, to this edition of Talented Universe. Before we get to our special guest for today, let me introduce my co-host, Liz. How are you doing today out in California?
I'm doing wonderful at 90-degree weather up here in Sacramento.
Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah, you're still down there in LA, I think, so you're doing fairly cooler.
It's freezing.
Yeah, I'll trade you.
I'll trade you.
Well, it's raining where I am, so that's always fun. But I would like to introduce our guest today, Kasey Esser. Kasey, you, in one of your many endeavors, you do vertical dramas.
Yes.
Now, to start out with the people that may not know what a vertical drama is, what is the best description you can give in your own words what you feel a vertical drama is? We've gotten different answers from everyone, so it's been kind of fun.
Yep.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of things. Number one, they're very entertaining. They're, basically minute to a minute and a half long episodes across a 60, 70, 80-minute time frame. So they're movies. They're just broken up into minute and a half segments. So it fits into how most people live their lives, which is I'll do something for 1 minute, go do some dishes, come back, pick it back up. And they've really attracted an audience of tens of millions of people.
That is the case, which I have noticed. I was looking at your Instagram. You went to the Philippines recently for a meet and greet. How did that come about?
That was amazing. So a woman named Holly, who is producing a Verticon this fall in Los Angeles, she had hit me up about doing the Verticon. And I was like, look, this sounds great. You seem really nice, but, I haven't worked with you before. So I've been wanting to go to the Philippines and produce a trip for me there first. And then let's see how that goes. And it went amazing. She did an amazing job. And we got a great turnout, got to speak at an event, got to go to a vertical premiere one of the days. So it was amazing to see the enthusiasm for vertical dramas there, because up till now, everything's been online. And I wanted to step outside of that and actually meet some of the fans and give them an in-person experience. And I'm really happy I did.
That is a good thing. I mean, I have been to conventions, and the same thing is you get to meet the stars, and it's usually pretty cool of what goes on. Let's go to the chat room. We've got some people asking questions. Christine C says, OMG, I can't wait. Well, Christine, I hope you're still with us.
Christine C.
Yeah. And then Tracy Steverson says, you're talented in more ways than one. Do you know when you're going to be directing your next vertical?
What's up, Tracy? Thank you very much. Well, technically, I haven't directed one. I did produce one. That's probably what you mean. But
that might be
hopefully producing the next one soon. Fingers crossed. We're working on it.
Yeah, I saw that you'd produced, and I go, oh, I didn't know he directed. That was new to me.
Yeah.
But some people don't know the difference. But anyway,
Sure.
How many have you produced? Just 1, 2, 5?
Yeah, one, Love in the Shadows. Just one for right now. Hoping to do at least 5 more this year.
In that series, or something totally different?
Something totally different.
Well, that is cool. Well, let me do one other question. Oh, Eckley says, anyone else enjoying the countdown clock? Yeah, sometimes the countdown clock works, sometimes it doesn't. We've had, sometimes it doesn't.
I feel like I should space.
And then Sandy Jones says, peeks in. So, whatever. But
what up, Sandy? He's got shaded.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
And then the Ukrainian Actors and Actresses fandom says, hello, everyone. And now I am going to Liz.
All righty. I have a question that's kind of been burning. You are, as we well know, a very, very talented actor doing a lot of these verts. In fact, I think how many have you done now? Some of the most across the platforms, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, I mean, last night we wrapped up number 40.
That's what I thought. Yeah, you were right up there around the 40s. But besides that, you're also a very talented actor, which I was a talented actor, but also a writer, which I want to talk to you about that book later because I got a couple questions for you that hit way too close to home because my daughter is also small.
Oh,
So I
nice.
want to
Okay.
find out a little bit more about that here in a minute or two. But of
Yeah.
course, you started producing. But besides that, you are also independently a small business owner for a personal training company.
There goes my
And
question.
you knew I was
Yeah.
going to do it, Michael. Um, so it is different from everything I have heard about. Um, it's not the stereotypical, it's not cookie cutter, it's completely different. How did you come up with a philosophy for that? And was that what brought you to LA to then get you into being the actor? Or was it the other way around?
Yeah, good question. Actually, I don't get asked that as much, but when I was sort of like planning my life, um, Arnold Schwarzenegger was a big role model for me, and that sort of instigated the idea that you can actually have multiple careers and end up on the top of multiple. And my first passion was fitness, and I knew that I wanted to have a business in place and a life in place before I went into acting because I wanted to be able to kind of direct my career how I wanted to. And that is pretty much the vision that materialized. And with personal training and fitness, I wanted a place that was bespoke. I wanted a community, and I wanted to do something different. And I had worked in all sorts of fitness settings, and I saw what worked and what didn't. And then I opened Esther's as a way to sort of circumvent all of that and just do what worked. And it's been a beautiful 10-year. It'll be 10 years in June since I opened that, and it's been a great bedrock to launch into acting. And but it's been a learning experience to balance both. I see why that's not a common path to have a brick and mortar small business and then go into acting.
Well, that almost ties in with another question regarding that. Because you are now doing so much with this business, and I understand, over the last year or two, you've acquired more of a partnership with other things. But now you're also doing the acting, you're getting into producing, um, and of course, you're writing. Have you thought that you're being pulled too far in too many directions and not one thing can come out great? Or are they all kind of dovetailing together and working well?
Yeah, it's what results go where attention flows. And my
Exactly.
attention for many years was obviously Esser's. So that was growing wonderfully. And now my focus is acting, and that's growing wonderfully. But of course, there is a give and take on where your focus goes. So I am learning how to be top at both, and still have a life and have my sanity. And I'm fortunate that a lot of great people work at Essers, and they've been able to you know carry it in my absence. But it's also a testament to what was built before, because when you have a good culture in place and a good value system in place,
Hmm.
that business can exist beyond you. And that's been amazing to see. But like, for example, I have this week off from shooting, first time in forever, and I will be diving deep into Essers and doing some things to kind of set the vision for the rest of the year.
That's great. Um, Regarding something more with the verticals, okay, you have done multiple genres of characters. And I've tried to pick them, and honestly, I think I've probably seen every single vert you've done, and that's
Oh,
no
thank
lie.
you.
I mean, seriously, that's no lie. Okay, so what is your personal preference to play? The billionaire tycoon, the werewolf, the rich heir or royalty slash mafia boss? Which
Between
one do
those
you
two,
think? Which one of like I think there was four of them. Which one would you prefer, or is your
uh,
favorite genre?
for me, my favorite genre is romantic comedy. I feel like I'm actually strongest comedically. So that's what I enjoy actually doing the most.
And a lot
I,
of
it's,
them are starting to turn that way. A lot of the verticals are now starting to do a lot of that, like a rom com feel. So I kind of
well, in
like
the be-
that.
in the beginning, when verticals were coming to the U.S., they were obviously coming from Eastern culture, and a lot of movies and entertainment there, are a little bit darker, a little bit more intense. And so there was a little bit of a learning curve to what the American audience actually enjoyed. And so you've seen a progression of, these really darker stories that are
Oh
now
yeah.
gradually getting a little bit
Yeah.
more lighthearted, which is good to see, for someone
I
like
came
me.
into this through China before it was ever even really known here, in
Oh,
the American versions or different places around the world. It was all, the Chinese culture and all the Chinese verts that were done. And it's kind of funny now to see a lot of them being reproduced for the English speaking audiences. It's the same story, but it's pulled out and redone for an easier culture that are now getting more interested into it. So,
yeah.
Michael, exactly, Michael. I think we have a lot more people. So if you wanted to throw a few,
Well, yeah, I just had to put up just a reminder to everybody. If you start putting questions to each other and say, "Hi, how you doing, Tracy?" or "How are you doing this?" I lose all the actual questions that are for Kasey. So please limit your comments in the chat room to questions for Kasey. I would appreciate it immensely because there have been 7/8 of the comments now are not to Kasey. So it has been. I've been trying while Liz has been doing that. I have been trying to mark the ones that are questions for Kasey. So please, 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 just keep it to that. I know you're excited. I know all your friends are online, especially the ones from the Philippines. But please make my life a little bit easier.
No, keep
So
blowing up the chat.
yeah, because
exactly.
I mean,
Keep blowing up the
yeah.
chat.
Yeah, and I've had a couple of others. They've done this too, and then I've had to. But Jeannie Poole says, "What type of characters do you like to play?
I like
You
to play
have
the
a favorite?
hero.
You like to play the hero?
Yes, that's my favorite. Any hero that has a little bit of a softer side, but can still, do his thing action wise. That's what I'm most drawn to.
Well, that's cool." And Betsy Davis says, "If you weren't doing verticals, I think you've answered this. What would be your dream job?"
I would be a professional home organizer. So, my
I'll be your
place
first client.
No, no, no.
is
I'm the first client. No, no, no.
I
Oh,
I really think I would just absolutely dominate that field. And I just really love organizing my space and my stuff. I have a label maker. Everything in my place is insanely labeled. And that was what I would love to do for other people, if not for personal training and all the other things.
So, that would outweigh your personal training business. Then you're saying?
Well, just thinking of something else like that's different that
Oh,
I'm
just to
not
add
doing.
to it. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, like something new. That would be it. If
Oh,
Esser's exploded.
and Eckley says, "Congrats on a decade of Essers."
Thank you, Eckley. Appreciate that.
That is, I did not realize you've had that for 10 years. Wow.
I didn't either until recently.
Oh, it just hit you, huh?
I was like, whoa, uh, I mean, just so much has happened, in a decade, so much happens. And, especially now with my life, I feel like I've like restarted in more ways than one. So it feels new. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but
Yeah,
not really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Bonnie asked, "Kasey, you are one of the hardest person working in this field. I can see that. When you are not working or working out, what is your dream vacation?"
probably something I don't think about enough.
Well, I can
And
understand
it doesn't
why.
include esters.
Yeah. I mean, look, I really enjoyed my trip to the Philippines. I would love to go back, but do like the beaches because we were more in Manila, like in the city. So I would love to do the beaches, in the Philippines and just like kind of go off the grid for a bit. That'd be nice. I've been to New Zealand to go to like Hobbiton and Lord of the Rings, and I would go back to that in a heartbeat. I loved New Zealand so much.
And so you're a Lord of the Rings fan, or you just like the scenery?
Lord of the Rings fan, and then became a fan of the scenery.
Ah, he's one of us.
Yeah.
Not so different, you and I.
No, not really.
Jeannie asked this: "How competitive are the roles for verticals, and how are they casted?" I know they're all different. So just to
Well,
generalize is what you can talk about.
Yeah, well, it's like, most acting, well, every acting job, it's very competitive. Meaning, like when I, produced mine in November, like we put out the casting notice or whatever, we had thousands of people, and for every role, it didn't matter the role. And this is the case. People can say whatever they want about verticals. There's a ton of people who want to be in them and want to be working. And so yeah, it's very competitive, but it's like any other acting job. You have to stand out in the audition, and you have to be the look that they're looking for. And you know there's a little bit of luck involved too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, Liz, do you have something else, or should I go to some of the other questions?
No, I have a couple questions, but go
Okay,
ahead
go
and get.
ahead. No, go ahead, because I'll get more in a minute. So
Okay. Um, with everything that you've been learning and even some of the behind the scenes stuff you've been working on, have you thought expanding out to maybe starting your own management company? Like a lot of record producers and things like that start because they're doing it and they can't find the correct label that wants to keep them. Have you thought about doing that yourself, the management company, and then doing your own producing and hiring other actors under your label to go on to do stuff like that?
Absolutely, that's the plan, and that's what's actively being worked on at the moment, and why it was important to get that first production, under my belt. We actually just put out a documentary yesterday that's on YouTube, called Vertical Jump, and it goes behind the scenes with us on that production. And you get to see, how we are as producers and what goes into making one of these. And the goal, yes, is to have a full-on production house that puts out stories that just push the vertical space forward, um, while still honoring the the space and what works.
Okay. Um, quick question, kind of a fun question. I know in one of your shoots here recently, and I can't remember what country it was, you had never played paddle before, and you were going out to try to learn it. And to my understanding of paddle, it's very much like racquetball, except for the fact it's all enclosed with things. Did you find it any different, and how did you like it?
That's funny. Yeah, that's so I was in Portugal with the My Drama team, and they, as a team building activity, they play paddle, and I was like, yeah, I'll jump in there, and it was actually so fun, and I thought it would be a lot harder than it was. The next day when we played squash, that I got torn up.
Oh wow,
I was not as good at that, but paddle, I was like, okay,
you're okay
I
with
can
that
do I
one.
can I can do this.
That's cool. So you do it again and again, especially if we had the courts here in the United States. Or in some
Sure,
of them,
yeah.
and like, well, an add-on maybe to Esser's that you have your own paddle courts. Sorry.
Yeah, add on. I'd probably put a basketball court in there first.
Michael, did you catch up with stuff that you wanted
yeah,
to
I
do?
caught
Or?
up with stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, wanted to ask, what has been your favorite role that you have played, or is that a toughie to narrow it down?
Mr. Vampire. So the first vampire one that I did last summer in Missouri, that one I just felt like totally in my wheelhouse with, and that was a blast. And then also, ironically, I know I said I prefer to play the hero. This one I still kind of did, but the love switch where we body swapped and I actually played a villain for most of it. Um, that was also really fun to flex some of that
The ghost
range.
muscles, yeah. No, that one when I watched, I just laughed because it was so out of character for the stuff that you do. And like you
Yeah,
handled it perfectly. It was a fun little romp to watch.
thank you.
So
We had so much fun that we had been trying to make that happen for a long, long time, and it finally materialized.
it showed through that you guys were enjoying it through your acting. You could see how much fun you actually were having.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Betsy asks, do you have any plans to film in the UK that you can talk about?
I've been asked to. It's just scheduling wise is always, usually the hardest part. Um, so it just hasn't worked schedule wise. But yeah, hoping to get to London sometime in the next 3 to 4 months.
But nothing definite yet.
Nothing definite. No.
And the Ukrainian Actors and Actresses fandom says, if you are bored, Kasey, you can come over and organize everything.
Well, if there's anything good I can say about my life is that I'm never bored. But, if the price is right, happy to organize.
And then Aphasia asked if you plan and any plans on coming to Germany.
You would love to. That's on my vision board, if you will, because I do have German heritage. My last name Esser means to eat or eater in German, so I feel like I have to go there at some point.
And short trick critic.
Short Reel Critic.
I read that wrong. Yeah, Short Reel Critic says, how does physical training help you dive into emotional roles, especially darker ones like Zane?
Great question. Well, I think it actually does provide a significant advantage, because when you go through hard physical training and you understand that pain and that you just feel that pain and you keep going through it, I find that to be helpful for more, emotionally challenging roles, because you don't turn away from that. You don't turn away from the pain or whatever gets you there emotionally. You just accept it and you go on. So I find it to be a great help. Great question.
Okay, and Eckley says, do you have any advice for people who would like to work behind the scenes?
Good question.
I'm assuming this is referring to crew or,
That's what I'm assuming, yes.
TAs. I mean, the best thing to do is to find the productions and just ask. I mean, it's still, the vertical space is still grassroots enough that we are all in need of people, and that if you just put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm willing to do XYZ, you may get lucky. I mean, I've had people message me and be like, hey, who should I contact? I want to do sound, or I want to do makeup or hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give them a few contacts, and then like a few months later I'll see them on set and I'll be like, wow, you did it. You made it happen.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did back a long time ago. And I just wrote somebody and I got drafted. So
see? Yeah.
Yeah, and it does happen. And I did not expect it. My friends thought I was nuts. But I mean, I enjoyed it, and I did it for 6+ years. Ended up in my career, I was running a convention for that company.
Oh.
So after 6 years, I was running a convention. So, you just never know. That was not in my wheelhouse either, but I learned on the job. So, yeah.
Yeah. You never know.
No.
True.
So you're right. You just ask, and if they need help, they'll contact you. And if you're good, and if you do everything they say, you get to come back.
That's the key. That's the key.
Yeah, and do you play pickleball?
No, I don't. I'm resisting that immensely, and I will not be tempted.
Good for you. Liz, go ahead to you if you've got something.
I've heard you being described as that you are like being in the presence of a lion, yet being unafraid. How does that make you feel when people, think of you that way?
I mean, that's flattering.
It wasn't just one person that was saying this. I found an entire huge amount of not only your fan base, but other people that have worked with you in the industry, and they're all kind of agreeing to this particular statement. And it's just, I think, that would not so much, definitely flattering, but I think it would give more of a sense of pride that this is how you've influenced other people, within the industry.
Yeah, that's humbling. And it's better, than to be like, oh yeah, he reminds me of a koala bear. He's like sleeps all day.
No.
So I'll take the lion.
Yeah. No, I really like that particular idea of what they thought of that with. It's like you're very driven with what you do. and you can stand firm against anything coming at you, and you're not going to be intimidated by it. So,
Yeah, that's much appreciated. So,
unless there's another question, Michael, I want to hit him up about the book.
Go for the book.
You have an absolutely phenomenal book, 2-part book. I'm hoping there will be a third coming up shortly with this. But how did you get into writing? What was it you wanted? You know, how young were you when you started to have these ideas? One first with writing, and then I'd like you to describe your book a little bit.
yeah, writing to me has actually always been, maybe the biggest strength, or something that's always, come the most naturally to me. And I remember, my dad would say, Kasey, like you're a great writer. You should, like, do something with it. And so, when I was in fitness, I would write articles, for different publications, and
Yeah.
with fitness advice. And there it just wasn't a time in my life to be like creative writing. But when I went into acting and I was doing class and I wasn't working really at all, I had some time. And and I think this maybe happens with a lot of creative writers. You just get hit with this idea, and it just, like, it hit me. I was like,
Flow with it.
you know, um, you know, what's the proper term you use for in the book? They're referred to as smalls, but
It's small, yeah. Oh, it's dwarfism, but it's different types of dwarfisms. But yeah,
yeah. So dwarfism, I was just looking around, and I don't know, I just got, like, fell down a rabbit hole of seeing the amount of discrimination and different things that weren't necessarily accounted for, with dwarfism in the same way that other things were. And I just, like, got fired up, and I was like, I need to write about this, not as a nonfiction writer, but there's something here to both set attention to while also being entertaining and respectful, and also, just kind of putting the onus on, the whole point of the book is the smalls are actually the ones who take over the world,
oh,
and they take over the talls. Height is so glorified in our society, particularly with dating, and it's not something that we even think about. And whereas we call out all the other types of discrimination, but we don't call out saying, hey, I only date people over 6 feet, or those types of things.
yeah.
And I was like, you know what, there's something here. And turned out there was, because I kept writing.
What hit me with it is, I told you off camera, my daughter is very small. She literally, up through 16 years of age, was always classified as a dwarf, a hydrochondroplagiatic dwarf, meaning she looks perfect in body, but she's just very tiny. She just finally cleared over that height once she was past 16 by just a couple of centimeters. But there were so many things that you wrote about that happened between, the roller coasters, the car seats, the shoes. It was literally hitting me right and left, the stuff that I've experienced with her growing up, and I had to ask you, what gave you all of this information? Do you have a friend or a family or somebody that gave you a lot of these pointers to write about, or just you did a lot of in-depth research?
Yeah, it was research, and then also just, like, looking around and seeing, like, what were some of the things that just, like, common sense stood out
Yeah,
that aren't accounted for. So it was just kind of turning my mind into that, where I just started to see it more.
exactly. And like I said, it was hitting me right and left with so many things. In fact, I told my daughter, I said, you got to read this when we're done. It's like, just because of the things to hit on it. But you nailed them, and I could not believe how well you nailed them. Plus the other encompassing story of kind of going down a rabbit hole with a little bit of a different twist to what really happened with the Wizard of Oz. So I should
Yes.
say the Munchkin crew that was with Wizard of Oz. So
Yes.
that was
Well, that
unique.
means a lot to hear that, because you're the first person that I've spoken to who has someone in their family, uh, with dwarfism, and so that's great to hear.
So, but yeah, that was one thing. Perfect. Michael, did you have any other?
Yes. One question I was going to ask. Can you speak any other languages, Kasey?
I wish. I mean, on every set, there's if we're shooting here, there's a lot of Mandarin being spoken. When I've shot in Lithuania, there's a lot of Lithuanian, and you know, and I always think now traveling so much more, I feel so much dumber for only knowing one language. And I feel like everyone in the world is bilingual.
Or more
So
than that.
yeah.
Yes.
We've come across guests we've had that some of them have spoken 4 to 7 languages fluently.
It's
And
that.
it just blows my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost, to me, like if people are like, what would be like your superpower? And of course there are cooler things, but I would love to just be able to drop in and speak like any language with anybody. Um, that just seems like such a power move. And
That would be.
so to answer your question, Haley, no. Some Spanish.
Yeah. And this you might not be able to answer, but how close knit are the actors in the vertical space?
Well, I know the women seem pretty close knit. I know they have a famous group chat, and I think they make an effort to hang out more, which is also just the difference between like girls and guys, right?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
And the guys also don't get as much opportunity to cross paths. Like the Love Switch was the first time that I got to work with another like male lead, for example, and uh, so there's a few that I definitely am closer with. But yeah, I would say it's a pretty close community at this point. But the women more than the guys, I think.
Mm-hmm. And how did you find out about the vertical space? How'd you come
Well,
across that?
I was with an agent at the time, and this was in 2022 and the beginning of 2023, and I wasn't booking anything at all, and
Yeah.
so there came a point where she was like, I think you're really talented, but I don't think this is happening, and is there a someone commented this? Now I'm hearing it more. Is there like a loud fan running
Yes.
somewhere? Okay.
It might
I can
be.
hear you a little bit, but I'm starting to lose some audio on your end.
Okay, so I don't think it's me.
It's not me, but I do have my windows open.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Might be it.
Let's see. Anyway, if there's anyone in the chat who can't hear as well. Oh, that's much better. So
that
anyway,
must have been it. Yeah.
That must have been it. Thank you. She was like, hey, this isn't happening. And I was like, okay. So she let me go. And I went on the casting sites the next day, and I saw a listing for Faded to My Forbidden Alpha from Real Short. And I was like, oh, this looks different. So I submitted, did my audition, and didn't hear anything, as most often happens. And then a friend of mine from acting class was like, hey, I know this producer who's like looking for this Alpha Alexander character, and they said they can't find him, and I think you'd be good for it. And I was like, oh, well, I actually submitted for that, but they didn't respond. But I'll reach out to her. So in the spirit of what we were talking about earlier, I sent her a message and I said, hey, I submitted for this, blah blah blah. And she was like, hey, Kasey, yeah, we saw your resume. We basically haven't watched your tape yet. And she's like, but we'll go back and watch it. So I had booked it, by that evening, and that production ended up being the catalyst for everything else. It was, one of the first, viral verticals in the U.S., and it blossomed from there.
Cool. Andrea has a question for you. Do you have a sweet tooth? And if yes, what's your favorite treat?
Most people think I don't. I mean, I definitely eat, pretty strict for the most part, but I do love me some dark chocolate, and I also love donuts, blueberry donuts specifically.
How dark is chocolate?
Not entirely dark. We're talking like Dove dark chocolate.
Okay. You're not going to go all the way up like to the 78%.
No
That
chance.
That
It's
gets
too
just a
much.
tad bitter, but I actually prefer it to the milk chocolates.
Yeah.
How often do you travel different places to film, and what does your schedule look like when you do verticals? I think Jeannie's going to be shocked at this answer from what I've heard from other actors.
Well, last year I definitely traveled a lot. I was really not in Los Angeles that much. I was in New York and New Jersey 4 times, Missouri once, Toronto for a good period of time, and then Lithuania for over a month. So I was definitely out and about last year. My goal this year is to film more in Los Angeles, maintain more of a regimen, and also it just suits better unless there's like a destination that I really want to go to, and I'm getting a way better deal. It just makes more sense for me to be here. With the schedule. It's a minimum 12-hour day, so you already have that for your shooting, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't count traveling to and from set. So some of these sets, are 40 minutes away, hour away with traffic. Okay, so now we're tacking on, round it up to 14 hours. Now we have 10 left, assuming we get 6 in for sleep, 6 to 8 ideally. And then we have, those limited hours to prep for the next day, eat, go to the gym. So I do not have a life.
It's just filled. That's all.
Yeah.
You have a life. It's just filled with stuff.
It's just filled with stuff. Exactly.
And here's a good question about what you were just talking about. How do you wind down after a long day on set?
Well, I'll scroll on TikTok, and that helps me turn my mind off for a bit, just have some good laughs, and just kind of be horizontal after being vertical all day.
I would think you would get sucked into the TikToks and it wouldn't stop. It would keep you up. That certainly is what happens with us.
Yeah, it's not the best habit by any means.
And let's see. Betsy says goes to the gym after he leaves set.
Sometimes I prefer to go before if I can, but depending on when we wrap, if we wrap before 8, I can get to the gym. But if we wrap at 10, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And there was one other question I wanted to, I think I did. What happened to it? Oh, what are you looking forward to the most for Verticon? You may have answered it about your Philippines trip, but
yeah, I mean, being in the Philippines, being able to actually meet the fans in person was such a humbling, genuine experience to see just how awesome they were. So I'm just looking forward to that, in a different setting again now, because this will be a bigger event. There will be more fans there, and I can't wait to meet them.
Well, I have to ask this question because I just saw this after I scrolled down with another 30 comments. Our fearless leader wants to know, iPhone or Android? He always asks that question to guests.
Yes, he does.
Do people say Android?
Sometimes they do.
I'm an Apple baby.
Okay, there you go. So now he'll be happy with that answer, just so you know. So
Yes,
you just made his day. So
great.
So
nothing more infuriating than seeing a green text.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you're allergic to green or something. Okay, what is your spirit animal? Edward asks.
Well, yeah, good question. I hadn't really actually, ironically, thought about that much more in depth. But we're gonna go with lion because apparently that's already how I'm being perceived. So that must be it.
Mm-hmm. That would be good, I think. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up or reveal or anything to your fans out there?
No, I was just scrolling through some of these other
If you see one that you want to
questions.
answer, let me know, or just say it.
I'm gonna try to. Let's see. Drive through. How do you and others on set deal with stress, mental health issues? That's an interesting one. I try to, I mean, I think this is part of the benefit with how I've structured my life a bit is it's good to have other focuses outside of acting and to have things that you can think about and discuss outside of life on set because you can go real inward and real obsessive and just get so caught up in uh, the validation game and all these things. And I would say diversify.
Yeah, we're really getting some distortion. I don't know if everybody else could hear that.
Yeah, that was pretty loud.
That was really loud. Yeah, but anyway, okay. Betsy says, I love dark chocolate 69% of the time. What other treats do you think would be healthy for us? Oh, and she considers okay, whatever. Okay.
Good ratio. Healthy treats. So the one that I revert to that I always bring to set, and this is also how I maybe deal with stress on set, is I bring my food. So I'll have my chicken, my salmon, and I'll always have a Ziploc baggie of nuts, peanuts, almonds, whatever else that I get from the grocery store. So just I would say if you're not eating, nuts, to incorporate those healthy fats into your daily nutrition. And blueberries, because blueberries help with memory.
They're antioxidants, so yes, blueberries are definite.
Yeah, that's true. But hey, I got a friend that she just loves blueberry muffins, and I guess that's
Oof.
what I should tell her, that Kasey says that's very good for you, for your memory. So that'll make it justified. So she'll want to have more.
Yeah, I don't know if the blueberries in her muffins are the same, but
yeah,
she is getting possibly a little bit of benefit and much better taste. So,
well, these are made from scratch, so I think that yeah,
we'll do it.
One restaurant that makes them from scratch, which you don't have many of those.
So. Wasn't familiar with her game.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. So we will see. So we're going to probably wrap it up. I'm sorry for the noise that keeps popping up. We still can't figure out where that's coming from. But please go ahead and rewatch. If you missed something that you couldn't hear, please rewatch it. And we're sorry about that, but we'll see if we can fix it for the next person we have on Thursday. So, anyway. I'll give one last call out for if you have a question that has not been answered, or that if it's just saying hi, he'll go scroll through those himself. So now, since he can access it. But
yes.
But while you're throwing up another question, let me just let you know some of the other vertical actors we're having on in the next couple of weeks, and we've got several. We have Tyler Crosby coming on Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, we have Nick Riccado. And on the 14th at 5 p.m., 2 p.m. Pacific Time, Evan Gambardella. And finally, going to have a female come to us. We're so happy. Kirby Elwood will be here on May the 15th.
Yep.
Her time is 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So please tune in for those if you are fans of those people also. But let's see. Now we've got when will you be releasing another movie?
There should be one coming out in the next couple of weeks on V-Glue. the platform Vgloo, where my beloved True Gentleman is streaming.
Ah,
So
okay.
yeah, a professor one.
Have you auditions for any major movies other than Verticals? Good question.
Yeah, so this past year, I've been entirely focused on the vertical space, but the goal this year is to start branching out in that direction a little bit more. So I will be, yes.
Well, that is great. On that note, I'd like to thank Kasey for joining us. As I said, sorry for the noise. I still kind of but please like, subscribe, follow our social media. I'm going to throw that up here so you can see it. Our parent company, ndbmedia.net. And there's those links, and then our Talented Universe links are right there. And YouTube is the best, I'll warn you. Facebook made some changes to how long they will keep a live stream, and now it's only 30 days. So if it's more than 30 days, Facebook gets rid of them. So please go to our YouTube page to see all the ones that we have done. I think you're like number 15 or 16 of vertical actors that we've had on so far.
Why was I not first?
Because two reasons. Number one, the first one that I tried to get took me 3.5 months to get them because they were too busy filming verticals. And so after I got that, then the floodgates opened up.
It's not to say I didn't want you first.
Oh, she
Okay.
put your name on.
I don't need the excuses right now.
No, she had you on the list when I told her you finally were coming on. She goes, well, about time. So about time you did something about it, so it's like
it was a blast. So I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Well,
thank you.
I'm hoping to get to Verticon. I'm not sure yet if I can make it or not. But
where are you based?
DC.
Okay. Yeah,
so
you can get there.
Our people are all over the place. So it's like we've got people from foreign countries are our hosts on our shows too. So
yeah,
it's scheduling is always fun and exciting.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you there.
Yeah. So everyone, thank you for coming, and we will see you another time.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Liz.